There is a valley, cradled between the highest mountains on earth, where the air itself seems to carry the memory of prayers, where rivers have heard the names of God whispered for 700 years, where saints walked barefoot through snow to reach the hearts of strangers. This is Kashmir, and this is the story of how the light came and never left.
The year is 1324. A lone traveler from Turkestan makes his way through the mountain passes into the Kashmir Valley. His name is Syed Sharif-ud-Din Abdul Rahman, but history would remember him by a different name, Bulbul Shah, the nightingale. It is said that he was so deeply absorbed in meditation that a nightingale landed on his head and sang, and he did not move. He would not disturb the bird. This was the man who would introduce Islam to Kashmir. He met Rinchon Shah, a Ladakhi prince searching for something deeper. Their conversations changed everything. Rinchon Shah embraced Islam, took the name Sadruddin, and became the first Muslim ruler of Kashmir. Thousands followed him. Bulbul Shah did not come with an army. He came with a heart full of God. And in the valley of Kashmir, that was enough.
48 years after Bulbul Shah, a second light arrived, and this one would illuminate the entire valley. Mir Syed Ali Hamdani was born in 1314 in Hamadan, Persia, a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad through Imam Ali and Imam Hussein, 16th in the sacred lineage of the Ahl el-Bayt. He was not just a scholar, he was a living embodiment of the love he preached. When he arrived in Kashmir in 1372, he did not go to the palace first. He sat with the people. He listened. He recited poetry. He spoke of God not as a distant king, but as the beloved, the one the heart yearns for in every breath. On his second visit in 1380, he brought with him 700 disciples, scholars, physicians, architects, poets, weavers, and mystics. They spread across the valley. They married into Kashmiri families. They built mosques and khanqahs. They taught the pashmina weave and the art of papier-mâché. They gave Kashmir not just a faith, but a civilization. His masterwork, the Zakirat al-Muluk, laid down a blueprint for just governance rooted in Islamic ethics. His Awrad al-Fatiha, his daily litany of invocations to God, to the Prophet, to Ali, to Fatima, to Hassan and Hussein, is still recited in Kashmiri mosques to this day. He was called Shah Hamdan, the king of Hamadan. But the people of Kashmir called him something else, the King of Hearts. While Shah-e-Hamdan came from Persia, the next great light of Kashmir was born from its own soil. Sheikh Nuruddin Wali, known to Kashmiris as Nund Rishi, the beloved saint, was born in 1377 in the village of Kaimo, Kulgam. He was a Kashmiri through and through. He spoke the language of the mountains. He understood the hearts of the farmers, the shepherds, the weavers. He founded the Rishi order, a uniquely Kashmiri form of Sufi Islam that blended deep spiritual practice
with an intimate love for the land and its people.
The rishis lived simply. They ate little. They worked with their hands. They preached through poetry, through the Kashmiri shruks, verses that carried the weight of the Quran in the language of the valley. Nund Rishi was deeply influenced by the teachings of Mir Syed Ali Hamdani. The seeds that Shah-e Hamdan had planted, Nund Rishi watered with his own tears. His poetry is still sung in Kashmir today. His shrine at Chari Sharif remains one of the most sacred sites in the valley. And his title, Sheikh-ul-Alam, the Master of the World, was not given by kings. It was given by the people, because he was theirs, and they were his. In the 15th century, Kashmir experienced something rare in the medieval world, a golden age of tolerance, scholarship, and peace. Its architect was Sultan Zain-ul-Abidin, known to his people as Bud Shah, the Great King. He ruled for 50 years, 50 years of building, learning, and healing. He was a Muslim king who protected his Hindu subjects with the same care he gave to his Muslim ones. He invited Brahmin scholars to his court. He funded the translation of Sanskrit texts into Persian. He rebuilt temples that his father had destroyed. He abolished the jizya tax on non-Muslims. He was fluent in 6 languages. He patronized music, poetry, and the arts. He built bridges and canals. He established the famous Zaina Lanka Island in the Wula Lake. Under his reign, the Islamic scholarship that Mir Syed Ali Hamdani and Nund Rishi had planted grew into a full civilization. Khanqahs became universities. Mosques became centers of learning. Kashmir became a destination for scholars from across the Islamic world. The Bud Shah did not just rule Kashmir. He loved it. And Kashmir loved him back. Alongside the great Sufi masters of the Kubrawiya order, a quieter but equally profound current was flowing through Kashmir. During the reign of Sultan Zain-ul-Abidin, a Shia scholar arrived from Iran. His name was Sayyid Hussein Qumi. He came not with armies or proclamations, but with knowledge, with love, and with the teachings of the Ahle Bayt that had been the spiritual foundation of Kashmir's Islam since the days of Shah-e Hamdan. Sultan Zain-ul-Abidin received him warmly. He settled in Sadpora, Sopore, where he lived, taught, and died. His shrine at Sadpora stands to this day as a sacred site, a place of pilgrimage for Kashmiri Shia Muslims who trace their spiritual lineage directly to him. Sayyid Hussein Qumi was part of a wave of Shia Sufi scholars, including Sayyid Madani and Sayyid Mahmud of Sabzawar, who arrived in Kashmir in the 15th century, deepening the love for the Ahle Bayt that Shah-e Hamdan had first planted. Together, they prepared the ground for the next great transformation. In 1481, a scholar arrived at the court of Sultan Hassan Shah. His name was Shamsuddin Iraqi, and he would become one of the most consequential figures in the history of Kashmir's Islam. Iraqi was a disciple of the Nur Bakshiya order, a spiritual lineage that traced itself directly back to Mir Syed Ali Hamdani. He was a Sayyid, a descendant of Imam Musa al-Kazim,
the seventh Imam of the Ahl Bayt. On his first visit, he worked quietly, planting seeds. On his second visit, in 1501, the seeds became a forest.
His most significant convert was Malik Musa Raina, the Prime Minister of Kashmir, a man of enormous political power who became his most devoted disciple. Under Musa Raina's patronage, Iraqi's mission transformed Kashmir. 24,000 families embraced Islam under his guidance. He built the Kankaye Zadibal in Srinagar, a center of Shia Islamic learning that became the heartbeat of the community. He then carried his mission to Baltistan, to the mountains of Skardu and Gilgit, converting the Buddhist populations of those regions to Islam. Shamsuddin Iraqi was not just a missionary, he was a builder of worlds. The spiritual work of Shamsuddin Iraqi bore political fruit in the form of the Chak dynasty, the only Shia ruling dynasty in Kashmir's history. The Chaks rose to power in 1556 and ruled for 30 years. Under their patronage, Shia Islam received royal support for the first time. Scholars were invited from Iran. Khanqahs were built. The teachings of the Ahl Bayt were taught openly in the mosques of Srinagar. It was a brief but brilliant chapter, a moment when the spiritual vision of Shah-e Hamdan, Shamsuddin Iraqi, and Saeed Hussein Qumi found expression in the highest halls of power. The Chak era ended with the Mughal conquest of Kashmir in 1586 under Emperor Akbar. But the roots they had planted were too deep to be uprooted. The Islam of Kashmir, rooted in love, in the Ahl Bayt, in poetry and mysticism, had become the soul of the valley itself. When the Mughals came to Kashmir, they came for its beauty. Emperor Akbar called it paradise on earth. Emperor Jahangir said, "If there is paradise on earth, it is here, it is here, it is here." But Kashmir's Islamic identity was not diminished by Mughal rule. It deepened. The Mughal era brought new waves of scholarship, architecture, and Sufi learning to the valley. The great mosques of Srinagar were expanded and beautified. Persian poetry flourished. The Kashmiri shawl became famous across the world. Sufi orders continued to thrive. The Kubrawiya and Nurbakhshiya traditions maintained their khanqahs. The Rishi order of Nund Rishi continued to produce saints and poets. And through all of this, through the courts of Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb, the ordinary Kashmiri Muslim held on to the same Islam that Bulbul Shah had first brought to the valley, the Islam of the heart, the Islam of love. The 19th century brought new challenges to Kashmir's Islamic identity. The Sikh conquest of Kashmir in 1819 under Ranjit Singh brought decades of hardship for Kashmiri Muslims. Mosques were closed. Religious practices were restricted. The community that had been shaped by 7 centuries of Sufi love now had to fight for its survival. But the spirit of the valley could not be extinguished. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a new generation of Islamic scholars and reformers emerged in Kashmir. They drew on the deep wells of the Sufi tradition, on the legacy of Shah-e Hamdan,
Nund Rishi, and Shamsuddin Iraqi to revive and strengthen the community.
The Mir Wais institution, the religious leadership of Kashmir, became a center of Islamic scholarship and political resistance. Scholars and leaders became voices for the rights and dignity of Kashmiri Muslims. The All India Kashmir Muslim Conference, founded in 1932, channeled the spiritual energy of the valley into political consciousness. And through it all, through Sikh rule, through Dogra rule, through partition and conflict, the Kashmiri Muslim held on to the same thread that had been woven into the valley 700 years ago. The thread of Noor, the thread of light.
700 years have passed since Bulbul Shah first set foot in Kashmir. 700 years since a nightingale sang on the head of a meditating saint. And yet, walk through the old city of Srinagar today. Stand by the Jhelum River at dawn. Listen. You will hear the Awrad ul Fatiha, the same invocations that Mir Syed Ali Hamdani composed in the 14th century, still being recited in the mosques of the valley. You will see the Khanqa-e-Mula, still standing, still breathing, still alive with the presence of Shah-e-Hamdan. You will find the shrine of Nand Rishi at Charar-e-Sharif, where Kashmiris come to sit in the presence of their beloved saint. You will find the River of Dawn, still flowing, still quiet, still waterside. The Awrad ul Fatiha Rain of Light, Mir Syed Ali Hamdani's Songs of Faith, the Bulbul Shah Hope, and Nand Rishi Peace. They are all living history. They are all the lifeblood of Kashmir Sufism. They are reasons why, despite all that has happened, Kashmir still is.
You will see the Pashmina weavers, their craft a living inheritance from the 700 disciples who came with Shah-e-Hamdan. You will hear the poetry of Nund Rishi sung in the mountains, in the villages, in the hearts of people who have never read a history book, but carry the history in their blood. Kashmir's Islam was never imposed. It was never conquered into existence. It was loved into being. By saints who crossed mountains for it. By scholars who gave their lives for it. By ordinary people who found in it the answer to the deepest question a human heart can ask. Who am I? And where is my beloved? This is the Valley of Noor, and the light has never left.